You're watching a clip from the Club podcast.
Make sure you follow it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give it a 5-star review.
I think there's only one place to start, and that is International Sean Dyche Day.
Yeah, he's Jesus reincarnate in Merseyside. With a ginger hairline.
In the world.
It's unbelievable.
Generous to call it a hairline.
Is it a
hairline?
Is it a one?
I think it's a bald.
He has got a bit of hair.
It's a bald.
And that bit of hair was on the touchline against a win against the top side in the Premier League. I mean, no one saw it happen. It's their second loss of the season in the league.
Did you say nobody saw it happening?
I knew they'd get a result.
I was going to say,
I think it's a result at Goodison Park when there's a new manager.
I think it's being portrayed as being a shocking. There's an element of shock to it. And look, I know it's easy to be very intelligent after the fact, but I don't think it's quite so shocking to go to. But it's the worst possible fixture you can have. Nobody in the world wants to go to Goodison Park for Sean Dyche's baptism. It's the worst possible invite, and Arsenal was so unfortunate, which is why I don't think it's a big deal for Arsenal, this defeat. Of course, how they bounce back from it is really what's going to decide how they progress for the rest of the season. But ultimately, history wasn't on their side. The fixture list wasn't on their side. If they played, you know, certain things in football, right? Certain things in football are, when they're hypothetical, it's very difficult to give anything other than an opinion. But this is something that I can say, this factually happens in a hypothetical conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If Arsenal had gone to Goodison Park 3 weeks ago to face Frank Lampard's Everton, Arsenal win the game 5-1. Yeah. I can see it now.
Of course.
I think they're 3-0 up at half time. Martinelli's having a field day. Iwobi gets one back and rallies and gets the ball out of the net, and Arsenal score 2 more.
100%, yeah.
So Arsenal have actually been done by circumstance.
I think you're being far too generous on Arsenal. I think you're not giving enough credit to Everton. I think this was more than a new manager bounce. I think this was Arsenal actually really poor. I thought the first half they were poor. I think Everton incredibly could have been 3-0 up in the first half. Decore header, Dominic Calvert-Lewin missed a kind of Paul Gascoigne against Germany kind of opportunity 5 yards out, slid in, missed it, and then another header at 45 minutes just before half time. Everton outplayed Arsenal in every area of the park, especially in midfield. And the reason I'm saying that I don't think you're being generous enough is because these players are at that level to be beaten sides like Arsenal on their day. They are. The starting 11 for Everton are top 10 side, in my opinion. They're top 10. There's a mixture of experience, there's a mixture of talent in that
squad. So who do you think I'm being too generous to? Too generous to Arsenal?
I think you're being too generous to Arsenal in the fact that Arsenal, it was a day off, it was a kind of once in a blue moon, a new manager at Everton bounce. I thought actually Arsenal were pretty poor. I don't think they created enough chance in the final 20 minutes. Odegaard, I'm not trying to be like, I'm a City fan, I don't like Arsenal, all that. I do think Arsenal didn't show enough
Nobody
quality.
wins there that day. Nobody goes to Goodison Park on that day. Goodison Park is one of the best away grounds in the country. It's one of the most intimidating atmospheres in the league.
Liverpool? When they won the league, when he got 97 points, came second.
Okay, look, there are teams in history that would have won there. Jose Mourinho's 2005 team would have probably beaten Sean Dyche's Everton as well. Yeah. But you must concede that there is some truth to what I'm saying. Playing Everton on that day is the worst possible fixture that you can have.
My issue is we've gone from a discussion that we've obviously done a few weeks ago on this show. That 2 weeks ago, we're talking about they're at a points tally halfway through a season comparable to the Centurions, more than the Invincibles. So we're comparing this Arsenal side, rightly or wrongly, to some of the best sides to ever play football in this league. Mm-hmm. People are doing that.
Yeah,
they should be going to Everton. Now, you can take away, I think the Man City result has softened the kind of critical understanding of what happened in Liverpool for Arsenal, because obviously City haven't made any ground on Arsenal now. So the loss doesn't really count for anything. But we are talking about Arsenal being potentially halfway through a season, an unbelievable side. They didn't look good enough for me. They didn't build play well enough.
They didn't, but it's their first defeat since September.
Yeah, of course.
And in context, sure, look, it's their first defeat since September. They've only lost 4 times all season in all competitions. They've gone to Goodison Park to face Sean Dyche on the worst possible circumstance, and they've actually got away with it on some level because City didn't catch them up. Equally, City kind of got away with their defeat, and it's a bogey ground for City. City got away with their defeat because Arsenal didn't make the most of it.
Yeah, of course.
But I think nothing is significant. Nothing is to worry about if you're an Arsenal fan. until you play Brentford. Play Brentford and win, and then you play City and draw, maybe even lose. Like the whole point of securing a cushion, the whole point of being above City is so that when you play them, you don't have to beat them. Like, that's what you want.
Yeah.
If they go to Brentford, or I can't remember where that is, but
it's at home.
It's at home, okay. When they play Brentford, if they beat Brentford, everything is fine. If they draw to Brentford and then they've taken a point out of Everton and Brentford, then I think there's a problem.
I think that I'm not trying to sit here as a City fan. I don't want Arsenal to win the league. I think they're rubbish. They're obviously
I don't want
very,
Arsenal
very
to win the
league. They are a special side, and they could get even better because they're such a young squad. We all know that. All I'm trying to say is, look, if City were more at the races against Spurs and we beat them 1-0, ground it out, classic City, classic Guardiola with City, then it's a different narrative. Arsenal, Saturday night, before we knew the City result, Arsenal lost to Everton and they were flat. They didn't manage the game very well. They didn't create enough chances in that kind of Fergie final 5-10 minutes, putting the pressure on Everton. Everton, for me, didn't feel any pressure. Like
no, I agree. I never felt once
be.
Everton were 1-0 up, I never felt like Everton weren't going to win the game.
And that's fantastic from Sean Dyche. And if there's any Everton fans listening, I don't want it to be an Arsenal failed kind of understanding of the game, because on some level Everton were absolutely incredible. And but that is what you should be seeing from Everton week in, week out. All I'm trying to say is, I think there's just a little bit more of a narrative there that Arsenal, at certain moments this season, when they need to break down Newcastle and get 3 points at home, for example, just didn't quite work. That could exacerbate. You're right. Could. I'm not saying it will.
If you're an Arsenal fan, look, I still think Arsenal are going to win the league. But if you're an Arsenal fan, I think that there are slight causes for concern. A few little chinks in the armour. Whereas, 3 weeks ago, I just didn't see a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I think that there is one. I think the reliance, and it's natural because he's such a good player, but the lack of mechanism to cope with the absence of Thomas Partey could actually be their undoing.
Well, what was your understanding
on that as well? Sorry, Rory, to bring it back to the game itself, and I know you were watching it live. Can you remember what the catalyst was for the Everton goal?
Yes, of course I can. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it was what I've been saying for years. It was Jorginho. It was Jorginho entering the fray, bowling into the fray, or delicately meandering into the fray, and Thomas Partey vacating. Like, they can't cope without Thomas Partey. And why they've signed Jorginho, I just don't get it. I really don't. Think about their midfield, their best midfield. So when you sign a player, you're looking for somebody who can replace, right? Because it's going so well. You've got a system that works. You're not looking for as good as, but you're looking for nearly as good as. So the three that they've got, you've got Thomas Partey, Jorginho, totally incomparable as a footballer to Thomas Partey. Totally
different.
Totally different. Yeah, incomparable.
Yeah.
Incomparable in skill, but also incomparable in what they do. Then you've got Odegaard to Jorginho, totally incomparable, totally incomparable on level, but totally incomparable in terms of what they can do. And then you've got Xhaka, same applies. So they've brought in Jorginho for something different. And look, as much as I don't like Jorginho, I don't want him anywhere near Chelsea's team, and I never have done. I really, really think I don't like the way that you have to play to accommodate him. I will concede that he does bring something to a team. I will concede that there is a particular system in which he can flourish.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the way Arsenal play. I don't think it's what Arsenal need.
Do you think, by the way, because obviously they got Jorginho and they also got Trossard.
That's a good sign.
Both of those players were not their first choice. It was Mudryk and Caicedo.
Yeah, with Trossard, I thought that they did well there because they ultimately got blown out of the water by Chelsea's embarrassment of riches. And I'm not really that happy about that. I think that part of Chelsea's problem, one of the big problems that Chelsea have, is that there's a lot of mercenaries at the club. McKola and Mudryk told us explicitly that he didn't want to play for Chelsea. He told her like we knew. He said, it's not a secret. This isn't my opinion. The geezer was on Instagram telling the world, I want to play for Arsenal. I want to be at the Emirates. Yeah. So Chelsea's signing a player who openly admitted that he didn't want to be there and has therefore signed for Chelsea for more money, because everybody would have got richer off the back of that. That would have been richer agents, richer Shakhtar, everybody. So that signing Trossard, I thought was actually astute. Premier League proven. If you look at his 4 years at Brighton, he's kind of split it equally, playing on the left side of a front three, playing behind the main man, and playing as a main man. Yeah. So that's a great signing because he can play. Flexible. He can play instead of Martinelli, or he can play with Martinelli. He can play instead of Eddie Nketiah or Gabriel Jesus, whoever it is, or with both of them. Yeah. So I think that was a good signing. The Jorginho one, there is one quality that Jorginho will bring that could be huge and therefore maybe even a difference maker. You know, when I talk about the signing of Zinchenko being a difference maker, not only because of what he brings on the pitch, but because of what he brings off the pitch. Geezer's won 4 out of 5 league titles. Take him seriously.
Yeah.
Jorginho, regardless of my opinions on him as a footballer, like I like him as a bloke, you know. Jorginho.
Yeah.
People think, like I like him. He's wicked at the guitar. He plays Oasis and that. Have you seen him do Oasis? Like, I reckon I'd like to have a pint with him.
Yeah.
But I just don't want him anywhere near Chelsea's midfield and never have done. I think that what he will bring to this Arsenal team, the quality will be, say when they play you, say they're 1-0 up with 20 to go.
Yeah.
Just tell him to look after the ball. He protects that ball like it's a newborn baby.
That's why I think it's a fantastic signing. I think it's unbelievable.
Fantastic.
I do. I think it's fantastic. Fantastic.
You can't think
I use the word fantastic. I think it's a 8 out of 10 signing. I really do. You get a guy. It's 12 million quid. So it's basically the interest that you're going to pay on the Mudryk deal almost. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy cheap. 18 months means he's got a year at least to prove himself. And if he really flops, which he could, you know, your arguments to that could be correct. He could completely fall off a cliff. That he's got no contract left. You could just let him go for free. But like with
it could
Willian,
cost you a league title. If it's a bad signing, it costs you a league title.
He got brought on against Everton. I thought it was right. I thought Everton were grinding them down. I thought they needed more possession. They needed more pressure on the Everton back four. At times it was the kind of 5 midfield. They needed more possession, more concentrated possession. I thought the substitution was right, and they've been done on the corner. So it's obviously ironic for Chelsea fans and all that to see him come on and instantly Arsenal lose a game of football. But overall, I think they needed, and plus he's 31 years old. He probably brings the average age up of that squad by a couple of years.
That's why I think on that side of things, I think it's a good signing.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think Mikel Arteta got it wrong? You know, you just said there, did the signing before the corner. I swear, even like at our level of playing football. You don't make a substitution before you defend a set piece.
The thing with substitutions is I couldn't gauge it during the game in terms of if he'd done that. I thought it was 2 minutes, a bit of play, and then a corner.
No, I think it was
straight away.
I think Thomas Partey, and now this is where it gets really troubling for Arsenal. I think he got a knock.
Yeah.
How significant that is, I haven't heard yet.
He did in the FA Cup.
Anything?
He didn't. I think it was in the FA Cup or in the game previously that he apparently
They
got a
can't
knock.
live without him. You know they've lost 4 times this whole season.
Yeah.
You know,
He's not
every
playing.
single time Thomas Partey has either been subbed or hasn't played.
Yeah.
So,
but they lost El Neni, and I don't know where you get the physicality. I don't think you can go and get Caicedo and call yourself a kind of. I don't think it's the right play to get.
Why?
To get Caicedo for 90 mil is different to 60 to 50. It would have been 90 million quid. Yeah, that's what Brighton said. We got the guy on a long-term contract. They could give him improved.
Yeah, they bid 60. That was the last bid.
I think they bid 70, and the guy said no.